For your viewing pleasure, this broadcast of the Municipal Council meeting of Alpena is made possible by the funding provided by the City of Alpena. Thank you for your generosity.
Good evening. Welcome to the Alpena City Council meeting of December 19th, 2016. Call the roll, please.
Johnson? Here. Nielsen?
Here.
Nowak?
Here.
Sexton?
Here.
Walagora?
Here. Please rise for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Any modifications to the agenda this evening? Approval of the minutes of regular session of December 5th, 2016. Any issues, changes?
One correction, if I may. We had ourselves adjourning on our last meeting at 8:12. I believe we adjourned at 7:12. I don't think we were here for an hour.
7:12.
7:12, I believe so. It was a pretty short session, if I remember correctly.
Good catch.
Hey,
Anything
we
else?
do read these things.
The rest of us look like we didn't. All right, citizens appearing before council on agenda and non-agenda items are allowed 5 minutes each to address your concerns. If you do so, please come to the podium and state your name and address for our records. This is the only time during tonight's meeting that you're allowed to address council.
Good evening, Council. I'm Bill Forbush, your Fire Chief, and I have just two things to report on this evening very briefly. Sneaking up behind me is Captain Rob Edmonds, and some time ago Rob completed the Eastern Michigan University School of Fire Staff and Command, which is a executive leadership program that is really quite intense. It's a 10-month program, 1 month on campus each, or 1 week on campus each month for 10 months. There's a research paper at the end of it. His research paper had to do with our field training officer program, that we actually used his research to implement a program for our new hires. Did a great job. There have been a few others in the department that have been through the program. Captain Mike Manchester a few years ago, myself, and Chief Hubbard before me. And so it's a nice tradition that we're doing in professional development, and I just wanted to call that out to your attention and have the mayor come up and recognize Captain Edmonds. Congratulations. Also, just quickly, I want to let you know about a apartment fire that we had over the weekend. Sunday, about 8 o'clock in the morning, we were called to Carriage House Senior Apartments on Pinecrest. There are about 50 units in the building. Of that, 26 residents were displaced from the fire. A lot of cooperation, a lot of things going exactly the way that they should go. We used all off-duty Alpena Fire Department personnel. We were also assisted by Alpena Township and Presqu'Île. Law enforcement was very helpful in helping to evacuate. Alpena City Police Department, Sheriff and MSP officers. Red Cross helped with sheltering. In fact, many of those displaced residents are at the Days Inn now, and the Red Cross is caring for them. The Salvation Army sent their canteen out, and we had one gentleman that left without his shoes and socks and pants and so forth. And so they went and opened the store and got the stuff for him and brought it out. Mark Risco, our emergency management coordinator for the county, did a great job of tracking who was here and who was there and where were they going, so we could find where all those people went. Special kudos to Thunder Bay Transportation Authority, who sent 4 buses on a Sunday morning when I don't think they have many routes. We used them to temporarily shelter the people outside the building right there on the scene, and then later we used them also to transport them to the other places, when they couldn't go back into their homes, Days Inn and whatever. John Benson from JJ's even sent over breakfast for all the firefighters and police officers after, which I thought was awfully nice. But when you look at all these different people, I think the point is that when we have an emergency like that in town, Alpena really pulls together. Everybody steps up to the plate and gets the job done. And I'm sorry for the folks that are displaced, but it won't be too terribly long. The damage was primarily in one apartment, but it was on the second floor, so there's some roof involvement. Mr. Gilman will be working with them and getting the necessary things in place and get it back in there. But a great job done by all. Just wanted to let you know. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, all right, tonight's consent agenda. A are bills to be allowed in the amount of $524,368.35. B is the approval of Memorial Day, 4th of July, and Christmas parades held in the city limits in 2017. C is the Downtown Development Authority budget amendment for pedestrian intersection snow removal in the downtown. D are 2 city manager reappointments to the Housing Commission for a 5-year term expiring December 1st, 2021, Peter Skiba and Mike Mahler. E is a 1 city council reappointment to the Wildlife Sanctuary Board for a 3-year term expiring December 1st, 2019 is Melissa Doubek. And F is the collection of the 2017 property taxes for the Alpena Public School District and the Alpena-Montomorency-Alcona Educational Service District.
Move we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second. Nielsen?
Yes.
Noah?
Yes.
Sexton?
Yes.
Walagora?
Aye.
Johnson?
Yes.
Thank you. Presentations tonight, I have the recognition of the annual employee award recipients for the citywide Pride program. Without Kathy, she left a brief description. So she normally does this, but she wasn't feeling well. The citywide Pride program began in 2000 and acted as an opportunity to coworkers, citizens, and visitors to Alpena to recognize city employees for going the extra mile. Throughout the year, employees receive citywide Pride slips indicating their act of kindness, dedication, and hard work. Excuse me. These slips recognize employees for going above and beyond their daily job duties. In December of each year, I present the individuals with the highest number of slips with the Citywide Pride Award. Additionally, as appreciation for a job well done, award winners are given 4 hours of personal time to be used before the end of the fiscal year. There are 5 awards, 1 for each department. And this year's winners, I'll read off, and then if you'll come up and join me. Oh, for each one, too. Oh, for each one? All right, first up we have Tyler Sushek. And Tyler is a recognition for the City of Alpena Fire Department, and I didn't see him come in, so.
Well, Tyler wasn't able to make it today. He couldn't get a babysitter, but send his regrets and thank you.
We'd have done that for him.
I told him to bring, but.
All right, from the Alpena Police Department is Adam David. From administration is Judy Kryniak. From the Department of Public Works is Garth Roki. And from Clerical is Jennifer Barron. All right, and we'll just get a group for Steve. And Bill. And Bruce.
Oh, that's nice.
Okay, no announcements or proclamations, public hearings, or reports of officers. So we're down to communications and petitions. First, we have A, is the proposal for a new service project, Alpena-Kiwanis and Alpena Boosters Club. I didn't ask if either one of you were gonna.
I'm Sharon Kirby. I'm with the Kiwanis Club, and the Kiwanis Club and Boosters together are joining together in hopes of doing this service for the community. And I gave a proposal. I'm assuming everybody probably got a copy of that, and I'm here to answer any questions you might have.
Okay. I'll, just for the purposes of the meeting, I'll read the proposal if you'd like, just because we have a ton of YouTube viewers. 6 of them. I'm sorry. I do keep an eye on it, though. The Kiwanis and Boosters clubs have joined the efforts to propose the creation of a military avenue of flags along M32 to commemorate the fallen veterans from the Alpena area. The flag project would be comprised of a display of flags lining the Alpena bypath from the Evergreen Cemetery towards the park at 11th Avenue. Each flag would be marked with a memorial plaque that will state the serviceman's name, the war in which he fell, and the name of the sponsor. The flags will be spaced 20 feet apart on city property near the bypath during 5 major flag waving times a year: Flag Day, Memorial Day, Independence Day, Labor Day through Patriots Day, which is 9/11, and Veterans Day, weather permitting. Prior to the first display, the clubs will set flag holders into the ground below mowing level and top them with a cap. As each holiday approaches, teams of club members will remove the cap and place a flag into the holder and set the memorial plaque. The flags will be on display each of the designated holidays between 1 to 3 days at each time. The teams will then return to remove the flags and plaques and recap the holders. The cost of honoring the servicemen will be sponsored by family, friends, and area businesses, and all work related to the setting of the holders, placing and removing the flags, and storing the flags will be the responsibility of the club's flag committee. In the future, the program may be expanded to downtown businesses, city parks, and/or private residences. The flag committee is requesting permission to safely place flag holders on city property near the bypath and to allow placement of flags and memorial plaques as described above, and request the opportunity to give a detailed presentation to the city council at the next available meeting, which is today. I'll note that this was emailed out to all of our departments and no one had an issue with it. It looked as though Sean McNamara from the DPW would like to coordinate with you to make sure that the grass is cut prior to setting the flags out, and there's some drainage, not drainage, but irrigation pipes in there that Mystic probably wouldn't flag. So I would recommend that if approved, someone work directly with him to make sure you don't hit anything out there. Other than that, I don't know if the council has any questions or concerns.
Real quick, easy one. Would fallen law enforcement be welcome to be part of this? Or families that have law enforcement officers that were local?
I would think we'd be happy to do that as well.
Okay. I don't particularly have any specific questions. I'm assuming that you put out some kind of a media spread to get people to
Yes, we would do
respond
that.
and point of contact and things of that nature. So.
Yes, we would hope that we'd give opportunity to families first to be able to sponsor a flag for somebody in their family. But if not, if we can't reach somebody, then of course it would go to the community at large and to local businesses as well, give them opportunity.
And it is somewhat currently going to be isolated to fallen soldiers and servicemen, not necessarily currently active or anything like that, or?
We're starting with the fallen.
Okay,
Mhm.
okay. Do you have a maximum? Did Rich, did you measure out like 20 feet down that path, just to
Quite a few.
give you an idea of how many a max might be? But is there?
I believe
yeah.
the number that we had was 291, and that did not include all the Civil War. And we think maybe there's another dozen.
Oh, okay, okay.
So we don't think it will quite go all the way down to 11, but we're using the spacing that was recommended by some other clubs in Michigan that have done this.
Sure.
That's the spacing they used, recommended.
Excellent.
From my perspective, it's a wonderful idea and will be very impressive during the holidays that you plan to have them out. I'm so glad you and your group are willing to do it.
Thank you.
That's awesome. Thank you. Karen, you want to be the action on that?
I move we approve the service project from Kiwanis and Alpena Boosters Club as presented.
Second.
Okay.
Noah?
Yes.
Sexton?
Yes.
Walagora?
Aye.
Johnson?
Yes.
Nielsen?
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Congratulations. Good luck.
Thank you.
Next up is Larry Clark. Update on the US 23 South Corridor activities.
Hello, everyone. Good to see you again. Thanks, Greg, for approving my request to come before council again with an update. If I may, I'd like to pass out, I know you have a copy of my presentation, but there's an addendum that I didn't get into recently here. And also, here's some photographs of the 45th Parallel Park. Well, to start off with, we definitely didn't take the summer off. As you know, South Bay is an all-volunteer group of Southside businesses and residents. I want to talk about that in a minute. We'd like to expand our base. And we're now moving from the planning stage to the implementation stage. Phase one of this implementation stage is the effort to extend the Alpena bypass south from Island Drive to Partridge Point's South Partridge Point Road, which you have in front of you. In April, we actually applied for a grant from the County Youth and Rec Committee, and they awarded us $30,000 toward that endeavor. So that was just, we still can't get over being considered for that. And we've been trying to use that, if you will, for seed money to encourage other entities to assist us in coming up with the funding necessary to move this project forward. To date, we also have $5,000 that's in the county general fund budget. We have a $5,000 grant recently approved from the Community Foundation. We have another $5,000 grant that looks good from a entity in town, and we're approaching some of our local foundations to try to raise enough money. We estimate that the project will cost probably about $750,000, and that's kind of back of the envelope at this point. With the cost of engineering, design, and survey expenses, probably in the neighborhood of 75 to 100, and that will not be covered by the grants we're applying for. Those grants being the DNR Trust Fund and the MDOT TAP program. So our plan is to go ahead and work on securing the funding for the engineering and design surveying work and get that out of the way, because that's required to be pretty well finalized by the time you can apply for the grants. Great, well knows.
I actually would say for the DNR, engineering is a permitted expense. It just depends on your timing on, when you want that done, but that can be included in the overall cost.
Oh, that's good. Okay, thanks. So what that'll mean, I think, for our local residents is that bikers and walkers will be able to go from the city all the way down to the south side to Island Drive and on, ultimately to Squaw Bay via either North or South Partridge Point Road, and into the area you'll see on your maps at the tip of South Partridge Point Road is a, if I may, there's a 52-acre park here. It's owned by the DNR Forestry Division. This black line is the easternmost entrance into that area. It's called Frog Lane by the locals. And I'll tell you more about this in just a second here, but that has been worked on by cooperative effort by the DNR and South Bay to get that area improved. So I contacted Cody Stevens from DNR Forestry Division, and he told us that if we supplied the gravel and the culverts, they would supply the labor and the equipment to improve the easternmost entrance into that area, which they did. That's now completed. A bunch of residents from South Bay went out there. About a week later, the guys had chainsaws, and the wives kind of took care of the brush and trees and threw them back in the woods. So now you can easily dry pack there as well. So we plan to have a grand opening ceremony in the spring. It's all been approved by DNR. And open it up to the public with signage and announcements in the media, websites, and so on and so forth. So, as I was saying, as you go down the bike path, you'll now be able to access Squaw Bay if our projects move forward as planned. The other thing I wanted to mention is the 45th parallel park that we're working on. The last page is a preliminary drawing from R.S. Scott Associates of what a park might look like at the 45th parallel. The photographs that are being passed around is an area that is 0.3 miles north of the current sign at the 45th parallel. And right now there are 2 billboards there. So there is a mound there. We think, from talking to some people as well as the DEQ, that that's filled. So we very well could use that. Matter of fact, the DEQ told us that they would work with us on this particular site. So that's a major development in that area. So I'm not trying to raise any funding for anything like that at the moment. We want to go ahead and submit our grant applications because we realize those will take several months. I hope Greg can be my advisor on that to try to get those approved by the DEQ and the Army Corps. And with the permit application being good for 5 years. In other developments, the community has just been wonderful to work with on this. Goodrich Trucking supplied the trucks to move the gravel for the Partridge Point project. Specification Stone donated the gravel. Steve Plowman purchased the culverts. And everyone seems to be really working together on this all-volunteer effort with a lot of pro bono work being thrown in. Mark Straley donated his time to prepare the documents you see before you for a preliminary rendition of what a 45th parallel park could look like. And Don McMaster from ACC and one of his people, Gary Hollingsworth, were out with drones. And we have taken some footage of Squaw Bay and the bike path extension and plan to use that for crowdfunding and marketing of various sorts, including our website and Heritage Route website and so on. In other developments, in closing, we've been working with MDOT. They are resurfacing US 23 South next summer. We have a number of local businesses such as the Thunder Bowl and Thunder Bay Shopping Center that will be closing some driveways. With another couple, we hope to get funding for it, and that'll help improve access and safety for the Southway corridor. And the summer cleanup projects went along very well this year as well. The flower pots were put out again. There were a lot of residents from Bear Point working on cutting weeds and painting everything they could find that needed paint. I'd like to close with, to leave you a thought. I was talking to Mr. Walagora before the meeting, and what we're going to try to transition to now, this project has gotten so big and its impact we really feel is Northeast Michigan. It's not a project anymore for just South Bay. Sure, the cleanup work and so on and so forth will affect our neck of the woods, but things like a park with access to the water and picnic tables and bicyclists being able to go from the city clear down to Squaw Bay certainly makes this a regional project. So I'd ask all of you to join with us and help us develop a plan for expanding the base of support for this, not only for our businesses, for all of our governments, for our chamber and Target, Alpena, and so on and so forth to that end, to try to create not only the funding, but certainly help this become a reality, as this truly is our vision as a business incubator for all of Alpena. And to tomorrow we're going to be seeing Senator Thomas to talk to him about that idea too. So, you have any questions? As always, thank you for your
Great
support.
presentation. Thank you, Larry.
Thank you.
That's the agenda.
I move we adjourn.
You are watching All About Alpena. All About Alpena is produced by Alpena Marketplace Productions.